we get a daily summary of of every drug that was paid line item by line item the day before, and it includes what the allowable is. And so if there's ever anything funky going on, we catch it immediately. In fact, it serves as the canary in the coal mine.
Welcome to Season 3 of the Ophthalmology Experience, powered by Boost Patients. Today, we're joined by Bill James. Bill is the Chief Financial Officer at Talley Eye Institute, where he helps support the financial and operational side of a long-established ophthalmology practice serving patients across the tri-state area. With deep experience in healthcare management, data analysis, and process improvement, he brings a practical view of how strong systems can make life easier for both staff and patients. Hey, Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Guido. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, I think you may be the first CFO in ophthalmology that I have had on the show. So congrats on being the first CFO to be on the show.
Thank you. I'll try not to be the only one or the last one as this goes through. So, yeah.
As long as you don't tell us that we can't spend money, I think you're okay.
That's my job over here. I get to do
that's
that
your
here.
job.
So, yeah.
I know. That's a job of ours, too.
Yeah.
Keep us in check.
Exactly.
So this is the first time you and I are meeting. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your practice, and just your background?
Certainly. I'm originally from Kentucky. I actually was an ophthalmic technician in general ophthalmology practice and in a retina practice in the early 90s, which makes me sound really old. Finished my master's at the University of Kentucky and then moved to Houston. I was at Baylor College of Medicine for a couple of years in Houston in the retina department. And then I moved to Austin in 2000. I was at Austin Retina Associates for a couple of years. And then over the years, I kind of bounced around a little bit through family practice, through pediatrics. I was with a large academic group and a nonprofit group doing multi-specialty, and found this position here at Talley Eye almost 10 years ago. And I started as the administrator, and we were 5 doctors then. We're now up to 10. And the role has gone from administrator to chief financial officer. We have my role, which is watching the finances, but I also do a lot of the technology implementation and also data analysis. And then we have a director of operations who handles the day to day, taking a lot of that headache off of my plate.
Okay. Yeah, you've made the rounds, that's for sure.
I've made the rounds, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm very familiar with, because we're in Houston and Austin, so I'm very familiar with Baylor College of Medicine and Austin Retina. I think they're an awesome group.
Fun story. Stephanie Collins started at Austin Retina when I was there. So we go back a little bit, just
I've had
ever so a little bit.
Too. She's
I
awesome.
I know you have. Yeah, she did a great job on her podcast. So,
yeah. Well, very cool. Well, that's good. I think that'll give you us an opportunity to get your perspective on all those different things that you've worked on in your career, and now leading up to the operations and the finance part of the practice, which nowadays is so critical to keep a very close eye and to run a tight ship and make sure that you're not, your denials aren't going crazy and you're getting paid what you're supposed to from your payers.
We built a lot of that into our day-to-day operations, actually. Some of the things that I was going to bring up. Our group has 3 retina physicians and a uveitis physician who does medical retina, and we do 6,000 intravitreal injections a quarter. And obviously, when you're dealing with that high volume of injections, the expenses are very high, and if revenues slip or dip, you're running into troubles real quick. And so one of the things that we do, we get a daily summary of every drug that was paid line item by line item the day before, and it includes our what the allowable is. And so if there's ever anything funky going on, we catch it immediately. In fact, it serves as the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. We had an instance in January of this year where one of the payers, one of the payers decided to pay uh, $48 for a $2,500 Eylea HD drug. And we got an email that as part of our daily email, we get this thing and it shows the allowable was $48.20. And we had a collective holy crap moment and we called Regeneron. They did not know about this. We called everybody we could, and actually we alerted the other retina practices in the state of Indiana to be on the lookout for it. And
Wow.
they it that lets that we immediately put a cease and desist in our practice on that payer's Eylea HDs until the problems got solved. And eventually it did. It did within a month or so, and we jumped back on once that was corrected. But we we built a lot of we use our data to build safety nets and catch things like that, not only on the financial side but in the operational side too. So it's a lot
That,
of it's
was that
it's
a? Did they say that was a claims glitch or something? Or what was the
that
problem?
was they said it was a just a an error in the fee schedule upload. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it was it's but as I've told the doctors and the staff here, payers are finding new and creative ways not to pay us anymore. And so
That's right.
I if we would have caught it eventually, but we really were able to minimize the damage. And as soon as we got word that they had fixed that situation, we refiled the claims. We've been paid, and life is good. But this helps us keep an eye out for the high dollar situation like that, where
So
if there's
you
ever
said
a problem.
that if, like, let's say today, well, yesterday, your retina doctor injected the next day.
Mm.
Is that what you said?
No, when the EOB hits,
And the EOB hits. That's what I thought. Okay.
we get
So,
we get just anytime there's anything with a J code or a Q code or anything along
sure.
those lines that
Okay.
gets paid or not
You
paid
see
or whatever, we get a daily summary of what happened the day
what's
before
been paid against the
and
contract allowable.
against
Do you mind?
contract allowable,
You don't mind
or
asking
if
me
it was
how you
yeah.
do that? Is it a third party product or something you're doing in house?
So I we use I have a guy who's a SQL guru, and he helps us write code. He has a program that clones our database every night, and then he runs all this code off of the cloned database. So we're not touching our practice management database or our EMR database, but it runs all sorts of code off of that database, and then through a system called SSRS, Microsoft SQL. Can't
Yeah.
remember what that stands for, but SSRS. You can sign up for what's called subscriptions, and you create these emails that could come out as a spreadsheet attachment or just as a table that produces all that information.
Okay.
And we use that in a lot of areas for appointments, for billing. Our supervisors, like our tech supervisors, will get a daily email showing how many patients each tech worked up the day before. Our front desk supervisor gets a list of how many patients that her staff checked in or checked out the day before, just to see how people are pulling weight and things like that too.
And so your EMR PM system must be on site in a database that you guys have with
It's
SQL.
it's actually we just migrated to the cloud at the end of last year, and
But
so
it's your
but
own cloud, probably.
yes,
Not
yes it is,
okay.
yes sir, yeah,
Okay. And do you mind asking me who your EMR is?
it's med informatics.
Metainformatics. Okay.
Yes, they are not ophthalmology is their second most popular specialty. They have a lot of radiology customers
Okay.
primarily,
Okay.
but
So
it's a
go ahead.
go ahead. It's a SQL database, and so
Yeah.
when we have when we started working with our SQL guru, we ran like 50 lines of code to pull different reports and pull these emails and things like that. And it's a situation where I do a little show and tell with my staff. Hey, look, we're doing this now, and so they have the ideas. I don't really have the ideas. They're the ones who come up with, hey, Bill, can we do a thing that shows I want to make sure that all of our surgeries have the appropriate prior auths. And
Yeah.
so our auth team gets a daily summary of any surgeries that are upcoming. And in the appointment note on the surgeries, there's what we call a clear code. So if he puts QQQ in the appointment note, that tells the scrubber to pass it up to that's so that falls off of her scrubber the next day. So
Okay.
we really just so this is a situation where they have the idea. We get together with our SQL programmer, and we look at the data and we figure out, okay, these are the ones we need. These are the ones we don't need, and then create the we he and I work together to create the programming, and then it falls into the email, or it just sits on a spreadsheet that we access.
Yeah.
I do our month end reporting in a matter of 15, 20 minutes. And it's because of the data that we pull out of the EMR and we dump into Excel, and then I can put it into a very easy to follow and easy to read situation.
10, 15 minutes, huh? That's a
Yep.
record.
It's
Uh,
it's nice.
so I want to touch on the scrubbers a little bit more.
Mhm.
So when you mentioned scrubbers, are that people?
These are the so for example, we will will target areas like from a billing perspective, where if we don't have a referring doctor in place, or if there's a charge that doesn't have an authorization number that's associated with the charge, or if we have our staff has scheduled a glaucoma evaluation without a visual field, or if staff has scheduled an injection and they're not 28 days apart. These are all things that come in as separate emails to different supervisors, and the supervisor can see this and then investigate. Sometimes it's false positive. You know, if we did an injection today and we scheduled the injection for the other eye in 2 weeks, well, that's going to hit the scrubber, and the supervisor is going to see it. But it's like, okay, opposite eye, it's not a
Okay.
problem. They'll put their
Okay.
clear code in there.
Okay. So that makes more sense. So your SQL guys building these scrubs so that as that those occurrences are happening, let's say injections are not far enough apart or whatever, then it's the SQL code is finding those instances and then sending it out to the right people if we need to take action.
Correct. Correct.
How many scrubs would you say you guys process on a daily or monthly basis?
We do every morning. There are about 30 emails that go out to different people in the office
Okay.
for different things. Yeah, I've got my cheat sheet here. It's the number of people worked up by each tech. It's the check in, check out.
Okay.
Um, if if we have missed appointments or canceled appointments, the system will pull those and put those in a spreadsheet. They get delivered directly to somebody the next day who can
Okay.
go through the list and call patients instead of having to hunt through everything prior. It's just instead of going to look for it, it's parked right there in front of you every morning.
Okay.
Um, we have if we schedule like a new patient appointment at the end of the morning or end of the evening, which can turn into a real late lunch or late departure, it fires an email to the scheduling supervisor, and it's like, hey, you might not want to have this. Now, if it's something like a endophthalmitis or a retinal attachment or something where it's like, no, this needs to be seen, obviously that's just a false positive. But
Yeah.
if somebody accidentally scheduled at the end of the day a new patient, which is going to take a long time, the supervisor can see it and then turn around and get that patient rescheduled. From a billing
Okay.
perspective, we
Yeah.
track our unbilled appointments.
Uh,
Uh, I mentioned the prior authorizations for surgeries for the premium IOLs. If we have not collected the monies for the premium IOLs before the surgery, our surgery benefits person gets a list of those as well, so she knows who to go after to make sure we're paid beforehand.
Okay.
Um, Procedures needing authorizations, things like that. Um, I also, going back to the drugs, I run a quarterly report where I look at line item by line item, each drug injected and how much we got paid on each one. So I know what our average reimbursement per injection is going forward, and see if there's a big swing from one doctor to another. Is that a payer mix issue? One of our docs goes to Illinois. Um, is that the problem, or is there any kind of things going on that we need to be aware of?
So you must have all the contracts must also be loaded into your SQL database so that the scrubbers can then reference them.
They the so we're working on getting all of the payer contracts in there. We don't have it done yet, but we can see a lot of ours are just based off of Medicare or a percentage of Medicare, so we can use that as a guideline by and large. But I'm
Okay.
working on my spring summer project is getting uh, all the fee schedules imported into our EHR.
And all of this is custom SQL work?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sounds like
yeah.
you're on your way to building a PM system.
I'm not that. I'm too old for that, Guido.
Yeah.
But
But
it's really
it is a
it
lot of
you know.
the things that people ask for
Mhm.
in practice, like things that people want to know. Uh, and you've taken a custom approach to it.
Yeah, the canned reporting is typically not that great, but if we can go in and find specifically what we need off of the SQL tables and extract that into a spreadsheet or extract that into an email, we're way ahead of the game.
Yep.
And we use the reporting for our PM very seldom because we've got it all
Yeah.
canned up and
Customized.
bottled and put into a spreadsheet situation.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really awesome. Um, and
Thank you.
I think you said somewhere around 30 scrubbers. I mean, it sounds like there's also a lot of data that's coming out every day. How do you decide in your practice what to focus on? Because sometimes when you have too much coming out to too many people, they don't take action or understand. There's just too much. So how do you make those decisions in your practice?
Well, with what we have that comes out, it really boils it down to succinct things. And when we talk to our staff, it's like, is this something you need? And if it's like, no, this is not a problem anymore, we just go into the subscription services and
Uh,
deactivate that, just turn it off. And but yeah, it's and it when I say 30, a couple go to the supervisors. I have our billing staff. Some will get two or three, some will get one. So we're with a 10 physician practice, we have 100 over 100 FTEs. Um, with that, it really is a lot of information going out, but it's pertinent to everybody. So I've had a couple of things where I've just turned them off because they're just not being used. But by and large, what we've built is being utilized regularly.
right. Yeah. I mean, you're making me think. So we have an EMR product that is cloud based, but it's not a private cloud. It's part of Amazon and part of a big cloud EMR provider. And they provide database access on the side, but there's going to be limit to the tables and everything you can get access to, and then you have to bring that into a data warehouse and then report on it. But the things that you're mentioning are likely possible, and probably a lot of practices haven't thought about creating custom reporting to pull out the key metrics that they use to run their practice every day. So, uh,
True. Well, and like I said before, these aren't things that it's like when we were in ASOA last year, we were talking about AI. And you have your Guido's Pizza and LASIK service and that stuff.
yeah,
But it's this nebulous thing, and you don't know what you're going to pull out of it until you start to ask the right questions. And so this everything that we built has been a little bit of trial and error, or if there's a something that slipped through the radar screen. How did this happen? How can we fix it? Can we build a safety net so it doesn't happen again? And these are where the staff has really come in handy because they are on the front lines and they say, hey, particularly when Eylea HD first came out, it was 3 loading doses and then every 8 weeks, 8 to 16 weeks. So they said, Bill, we need to figure out a way to have a scrubber for Eylea HD so we don't hit that 4th dose within a month. And it took a little bit of work, but we built it. And somebody in our retina department used to get a daily email for anything that potentially was an early Eylea HD. Now we're back to every month now with all the payers, so that one we turned off. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
So you mentioned your staff too. Do you go to, because what I'm trying to get at is how do you provide this information, but you don't overcomplicate things for the people using them or the people reading them? And you said succinct and everything is very, but do you go to them first and ask for their pain points, or what's the data governance in your practice when it comes to reporting?
So like I said before, when we started, it was this nebulous thing, and nobody really understood what we were built. No, nobody at the on at the billing level or at the scheduling level really understood what we were putting together. But then I had the idea at first of what if we build the wrong number of units? What if we accidentally do a second cataract surgery and we're billing the right eye again? What if we had a 10-year-old patient that was scheduled for one of our doctors who does not see kids? And so when the people would start to get these emails and they say, oh, there's that spark that just happens. And they're like, oh, okay, so this is what we're talking about. And they think, well, what if we schedule too many visual field appointments in a given morning? Because you can only have, we only have one visual field. So you can only do so many in there. So it counts the number of visual field appointments. And it's like, if there's more than 9, then, oh crap, we've got a problem. Or if we do a YAG and we schedule them for a 1 hour post-op to just check the pressure. If there's a YAG that's scheduled, but there's no 1 hour post-op, we've got a problem. And so, can we build this? And so I would invite the person who asked for it, because they're on the front lines. I would say, come in, let's do a Zoom session or a Teams session, and I get my SQL guy on board. And I always say I can read SQL, but I cannot write SQL because I can see if he's programming it in, I can understand what he's saying. And then we are we pull the data and we do a quick little run of just what we've written, of the code that we've written. And so which was the problem patient? And we look specifically for that account, for that data service, and we look to see how we can isolate that, how we can write the program to catch exactly what happened. And it's a little bit of trial and error. But by and large, when we've got to the point now with my staff to where they understand, the growth curves have been pretty amazing for these people, because they understand, okay, this is how it looks. This is how it fits. And their knowledge of SQL is much, much better than they would describe. So one example, recently, we'll have a situation where there's like a coordination of benefits or something like that. And our billing company will drop the balance to the guarantor, but not alert the patient that they have a large balance. And so whenever anything drops to that balance, it goes to one of our internal people who is responsible for collecting patient payments. So she'll get this report. So instead of waiting 2 or 3 weeks for the statement to go out, and then maybe the patient calls you, maybe the patient doesn't call you. Instead of waiting that time, the next day she gets something that says, "Hey, Mr. Jones is having a coordination of benefits issue. We just need him to call the insurance company." So that process happens 2 weeks before it would otherwise happen, if it happens at all.
That's
So
right.
it's just we see problems identified, and then we see the problems identified, and then we can turn around and figure out, wait, talk it through. How can we build this? What can we do? And then we work and build a program to or build code to write what we need.
Quick break brought to you by Boost Patients. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a physician, a practice admin, or maybe someone on the marketing team, and you really have a singular goal. You want new patients, more consults, higher surgery volume. And oftentimes, when you want that, you think immediately about marketing, spending more on marketing, investing more in marketing. Maybe, but probably not. We've mystery shopped over 600 practices, and there's one commonality with all of them. They're not very effective and not very good at patient follow-up. So before you invest more money in marketing and more into that investment, you really need to understand how your practice is following up with new patients. So go to boostpatients.com, fill out the contact us form, and let me know that you want us to mystery shop your practice. We'll mystery shop it. We'll document how your practice follows up with your new patient lanes, and we'll share that information with you. Now back to the show.
Sounds like you guys are busy doing a lot of code writing.
It it's
Uh,
a decent amount, but it's not as much as you think, because
yeah,
once we kind of have the ideas, then we can go off and find where we've done something similar before, and just copy and paste and fill in the blanks. It's kind of
yeah.
like
You've
when I'm
identified
doing,
where
like,
the tables are, and what
yeah,
tables have what data, and then you can kind of tweak it based off of what you're looking for.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So, do you think? I mean, AI. You mentioned AI, and AI is going to change how we do things. How is that going to change your approach? I mean, what have you seen? Have you seen any tools that mimic or get close to what you're doing now?
Yet we're dabbling in AI. I've used AI to write letters to insurance companies to explain why they're not being good, and that's been very helpful. But we're working with AI to augment um, what we're doing currently. For example, and this is a project that we just started this week. I've had our for verification of benefits for our insurance. Our system has our EHR has a program that doesn't work great, but what I'm looking at is a way where we go through Claude and we have an API that will pull the information that Claude needs, and then overnight Claude would go in and do insurance verification for our Medicaid patients. Right now, Availity's database does not keep up as well as the actual Medicaid databases. That's been our experience. We've had a not often, but often enough to where it needs to be addressed. But we're Claude has built the tool. We're just in the process of getting our HIPAA BAA set up so we can start putting that tool to work, where we'll go in and we'll build the list of Medicaid patients that are being seen over the next 14 days, and then Claude will go and verify all the information, and then our Medicaid staff will get a daily report. And here's eligible, ineligible, whatever. So that way she knows which ones need attention, and that would be emailed to her just the same.
That's super cool. Is it just for Medicaid, or are you doing any other payers?
Medicaid is my trial balloon.
Okay.
If once that works, then we're going to expand to all the other payers. And then once we have that in place, we are going to expand it into our drug. We're going to expand it into our high value drug team,
Yeah.
and see what we can do there. Um, you can't, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
so the um, the staff that handles our Medicaid is very eager to try new things, and if I can, and so I'm starting small, and then phase two is going to be the rest of the insurance. Phase three is going to be our drugs. And then we turn around to the rest of our entire practice. Hey, we're using AI. Here's what we're using it for. And it can, it's one of those again, the staff will have the ideas and then we
Yeah.
start to play with it.
I think insurance benefit verification is a huge potential use case for automation, because I'm sure you're dealing with it. It's the same thing. For us, it's a huge pain point because a lot of times patients don't know exactly what they have. They got Medicare, they have a replacement, it's just tough. And we get in the information, and sometimes we want to do the right by the patient and get them in as soon as possible. We can't get a referral in time. It just, all those things, if we could clean it up and get better data into the EMR sooner, then it would reduce a lot of the downstream problems that occur because of that. So yeah, I'm really curious.
That's spot
Maybe
on.
we can
Yeah.
catch up with you later to understand like how that worked. Because we're looking, we've been trying to we did a project for verification of cataract surgeries, and because we have a lot of cataract evaluations, but we don't typically pull full benefits until somebody has decided that they are going to move forward. But
Mhm.
we're trying to do that sooner so that we can give patients their out of pocket and get more patients to actually want to convert, so that financial is not a restriction for that.
Exactly.
But it takes a person to go look at all those different benefits. I mean, we have automating tools that aren't quite accurate or not quite as good enough, but
Right. Right.
it would be awesome if we had a Claude that said, okay, here's the data sources we need to go look at, pull the patient information from the PM system, and then we train it on how to do the eligibility verification, and then do first, second eye, and then spit out an estimate. Man, I mean, heaven, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And particularly for our retina patients who get the injections,
Oh, yeah.
knowing the deductible and the out of pocket is huge. And then another thing that we are using with this with with retina injections, there are these charitable organizations such as Good Days or Healthwell who will open and close their panels to new patients, and we get an email or a text message from these plans, and we have a list. I put into our EHR. I put a dummy secondary insurance that just says need Good Days. And if we target a patient who is on Avastin because of an affordability issue, otherwise we'd like to have them on, a Pavblu or an Eylea or Vabysmo, um, will our staff will put in needs Good Days. And so with the same analysis that we run, I have a spreadsheet that pulls every patient who has all the insurances and if it's primary, secondary, tertiary, inactive. And so I can just quickly pull my needs good days list that's all has secondary needs good days, not inactive. And
Yep.
so it opens, I can spit out a spreadsheet and I can immediately throw it into Teams for uh, our billing staff to just start hammering down the list to get as many enrolled as they can once those panels open.
Man, you guys are keeping busy over there.
Keeping busy, but we're leaning on the technology to help us do what we need to do.
Yeah.
You talk to Ben Seals, who's he's an icon in our profession. He uses the data. We use the data a lot of the same way that he does in terms of outreach and growth and things like that. I'm trying to use the data to help make us more efficient and not let things slip through the cracks as we go through our day-to-day world.
Have you ever measured like some of the things that you've done and what those scrubbers have saved you in terms of time,
Have not.
money?
Well, when I'm looking at the high value drug things, if it catches one, that's $2,000,
Yep.
and so that's one less injection that we would not get paid for, and it doesn't take too long to justify the expense that goes into that
Oh, for
because
sure.
because it's there and it's quick. So no, I haven't really done an analysis on it.
Mhm.
We just know that it's a very solid tool for everybody in the office, and they've come to depend on it.
Yeah. So, what are some tools or efficiencies you're thinking about that you haven't quite done yet, but you want to do?
Talked about the fee schedule and getting that in. I'm working on it, as you know. Blue Cross Blue Shield. When I go into Availity, there are 10 different plans with 8 different fee schedules, and trying to get those lined up. Um, I want to have that going forward. I do want to have us have a. I want to have us have the ability to pull patient data more quickly. If and also, I'm I pull how old every month when I do our monthly analysis. I see obviously the buckets of AR, but I can also see how old the dollars are that come in. And so, of the let's say we get $500,000 a month. Well, $100,000 was from dates of service of March 1st through the 31st. 300 was from February, and then I can break down how old those dollars are. But then I can go in. I want to go in and see, are there any payers that are in this 150-day old bucket or older that just are slow payers? And is there anything that we're doing wrong? Is there anything that's happening where we need to be more in tune and know that records are going to be needed, or if we are in a situation where um, we just know it's a slow payer, or these are always going to require an authorization, or buckle up, there's going to be a peer-to-peer for to get paid for this. That sort of analysis to see what's happening in there.
Yeah, I think I think what I'm curious to know is that it sounds like you're doing a ton of things that sound very efficient for the practice. If somebody came up to you at upcoming at Ascaris ASON and they're like, "Hey, Bill, I heard your podcast. Seems like you guys are doing a lot of cool things. Like we're not quite doing that yet. How do you suggest I get started? What would you tell them?"
Well, um, I would I would tell them, hey, let's you know give me a call. Uh, I'm not I'm not looking to break away and do a consulting gig or anything like that, but you know, give me a call with some of your with you or other people you think who might be curious about some of the things that we're doing, and I don't mind showing under the hood as much as I can. And these are some of the things that we pull. This is what we're doing. In fact, there's a group in the Indianapolis area who 3 months ago called me, and they said, "Hey, we've heard you're doing really good things with your sequel," and they have the same EMR that we have. And so I did a little show and tell where I showed, here's a month by month of all the drugs that we're doing and how they get populated, and how I can analyze what our margin per injection is, average margin per injection is in a given quarter. Or here's where we were getting shortchanged on Eylea HD. We got this one morning and raised the red flag immediately. And when you do stuff like this, it's not a one size fits all practice thing. We're multi-specialty. So, I know Guido, you're more anterior segment. So you're going to be more focused on premium lenses and things like that, where as many retina injections as we do, I need to focus on that more. But it's a matter of what fits best for your practice. And then you start to have these conversations and kind of start to evolve what's great for you to work. But it's a matter of sparking that curiosity, or finding that you see something that suddenly triggers hey, you know what? I've always wanted to know how to do this, or I've always wanted to avoid how to hit this pitfall, which we always seem to fall into. How can we get around that? And then once you do it, then other people kind of catch the knowledge. And then suddenly you've got a staff who's thinking outside the box. And it's really cool when you got a lot of outside the box thinkers all working together.
Yep. Well, Bill, you better get ready for some phone calls. I don't I don't think we'll get this podcast out before ASOA, but probably the week after. So when you meet
All
those
right.
people and
Well,
they see this, they be calling you and say, "Hey, Bill, help me set up my scrubber."
that's it. It really is. It's great once you figure it out and start putting it to use. It's just a lot of fun to be able to have that and then build it and see it come to fruition, and suddenly that's one less problem to worry about.
Right.
So yeah.
And you alluded to this, and I think I would also add, as far as like where would somebody get started to try to be more efficient, is understand, like you said, what's your core business, what what are what are your opportunities, what's going on in your area of the country, what are the things that you really want to focus on, and then determine how to make an impact with those things, and then determine how to get at the data. So it's, you got to start and understand what is it that you feel is an opportunity for your practice to do a little better and figure out how to use. I mean, there's a million automation companies and a million. I mean, I can't tell you. I'm sure you get a ton, Bill, but RCM automations, and there's so many people wanting to schedule meetings with me, and it's just like, feels just like, oh my gosh, I can't handle all these different options. And but start slow and start small, like you said. Start one thing after another. Take one bite of the apple at a time, and figure out how to get more efficient. Because in our industry, it's not like they're paying us anymore, so we've got to figure out
Yeah.
how to be more efficient with what we do, and we're getting a little less for what, especially like cataract surgery, and we continue to get less money, and we gotta get creative, and we gotta get more efficient, and
We do, and
you're doing
yeah,
great.
necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. And
That's right.
when we saw this, nice 11% haircut happening on cataracts,
Mhm.
okay, what can we do? What can we focus on? How can we do better? And then my end is what can we do to save steps and let kind of pave the road for everybody to have an easier work template to go off
Yeah,
of.
agree.
So yeah,
Well, Bill, I think we got to wrap up, but I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your knowledge and
yeah.
everything that you guys are doing. I think you're doing a great job. So thanks again.
Thank you, Guido. Yeah, I appreciate the time and look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank the listeners for joining us today. If you don't, if you want to miss our episodes, please subscribe and share requests with your friends on social media. Another quick shout out to Boost Patients for producing the podcast. Boost Patients helps ophthalmology practice get more new patients without spending a dime on marketing. You can learn more about them at their website, boostpatients.com, or check out the show notes. Until next time, have a great week.